The northern sea's salty air blew into my blonde hair like an invisible comb as I watched Laurits interrogating the disarmed brigand. The man's faint sobbing was almost drowned out by the ever-hungry cries of nearby seagulls who have come to the beach in hopes of feasting on the flesh of men. I was frowning throughout the whole procedure. My mood was besieged by the previous day's extensive drinking, which we had in anticipation of today's fight against the dark hordes of lawlessness. It was supposed to be a battle we'd remember for years to come, a skirmish between the alehouse knights and a famed robber baron. In reality, that day was nothing but a bloodbath, a 5-minute-long showdown where we did nothing but burrow our blades into the flesh of a few lowly and malnourished looters. Their leader was nowhere to be seen, and as a way to find his whereabouts, I managed to convince my fellow knights to spare one of the bandits. My pleasant surprise quickly turned into disgusted disappointment, as Laurits took my suggestion of disarmament quite literally. So there I was, staring into the seemingly endless sea, while my boots sunk into the grey, muddy shore. Behind us, a thick line of palseni trees ran for miles, acting as a border between the beach and the forests of my homeland, the great and beautiful realm of the Ranthways. A few rocks were scattered around the shallower parts of the dark waters, and to my left I could see a small hill stretching outwards, an idyllic sight which calmed my nerves slightly due to its pleasant appearance. "I don't get it. I did what Laurits told me to do, and the prisoner still won't talk," said Laurits, while the man without hands became paler and paler. "Maybe he would be talking if he wasn't mutilated, don't you think?" I told the nobleman. Perhaps. But then again, it was you who suggested we take away his hands." Laurits pointed to Kalervo, who for some god-forsaken reason decided to play with the severed hands of our captive. He drew lines and figures into the mushy sand, and to be frank, his artistic skills were quite admirable. I liked the portrait he drew of himself. It was quite close to reality. How about this? Next time someone suggests we disarm someone, we only take their weapons away, came my reply. Wait, you said disarm. Goodness gracious, Laurits, I misheard what you said. My apologies. But I said it clear, or did I? Well, I don't know. How am I supposed to know? It was you who said it. Maybe I misremember the details. Either way, I'm off to throw up. See you guys soon. We waved goodbye to each other, and I made my way to the rocky hill in the distance. Upon arrival, I noticed the entrance of a small cave, which led to a cove still lit by whatever sunlight broke through the clouds. I made my way to the middle of the cove and leaned above the water, ready to let out whatever foul things were rotting me from the inside. Vomiting always terrified me, yet with my recruitment into the Knights of the Alehouse, I slowly grew accustomed to it over the weeks. I opened my mouth and closed my eyes, waiting for the horrid, inescapable act to come, when a voice caught my attention. It sounded like it came from a young maiden, and strangely enough, it wasn't words, but giggling. Unsure if I was imagining things or not, I raised my head and opened my eyes, only to see the source of the soft laughter. A girl was sitting on a rock next to me, which stood barely out of the water. But, dear reader, it was no ordinary woman, for she had light blue skin, pure black eyes, and hair so unkempt it reverted back to being beautiful due to its chaotic nature. Her greatest trait was, of course, her lack of legs, as she had the tail of a fish instead. There was also the lack of clothing on her strange body, but I won't describe that feature of hers in further detail. "Oh, hello," I greeted the stranger innocently, like the sheltered child that I was. "Hi. What were you doing?" she asked, while smiling softly. I felt a mocking aura emanating from her, although the way she tilted her head gave me the impression that she was driven by curiosity, not by harm. "Oh, I ate something bad. Thought it was trying to come out, but Heh, would you look at that? I'm fine now." The girl giggled again. Her voice was sweet as honey, and despite her strange and otherworldly appearance, her face was quite charming. "You must be really strong then," she said elusively. Before I could even think of a reply, a second voice began speaking behind my back. Surely a bad meal is no obstacle for such a fine young lad. Turning around in an instant, I saw a second fish-like maiden staring at me with eyes glowing from curiosity. For a moment I thought this was nothing but an illusion, a facade caused by excessive drinking. A man of vigour! Suddenly a third maiden appeared from the cold waters of the cove, then another, and another. Before I knew it, I was surrounded by what must have been a dozen of the creatures. "What a strange little family you have there." "Heh, are they, your sisters?" I asked as I turned my attention back to the woman I met first. Yes, they are. We are the Sisterhood of the Murk, servants to the witch Sealani, who casted life into our slimy bodies with ancient magics," came the reply. Suffice to say, I was overwhelmed by the flood of information storming my mind, although I managed to keep my composure. "That's nice. I'm Laurits, son of Ino. Pleased to meet you," I said, after which I began to approach this Sister of the Murk with my arms stretched out. The girl looked at my hand with fascination and confusion, clearly not knowing the concept of a handshake. At the time, I wondered if she was just bewildered by my outfit, prompting me to quickly remove my mail mitten. "It's not webbed," gasped one of the maidens from the water, to which her siblings began whispering to one another in excitement. "Tell us more about your world, son of Ino," another one shouted soon after. Hearing this, the rest started begging for my knowledge as well. It was overwhelming, to say the least. "What's it like to walk on land? Does the sun make you nervous as well? Do you also like raw fish?" These were just some of the questions that I could make out from the loud chit-chat that followed. For some reason, instead of being afraid, I felt as if this merry band of fish-like women, while monstrous on the outside, were much more human on the inside. Naturally, the moment had to be ruined by the arrival of Laurits and Kalervo. "Shoo, you scaly man-eating beasts, get out of here!" shouted the masked nobleman. The maidens on land quickly dragged themselves back into the water, while those who were already swimming hissed at him like cats. It was absurd. "What the hell?" I shouted. "Laurits, my boy, do you realize how close you were to being torn into pieces?" he began explaining, while Kalervo threw pebbles at the strangers. "What nonsense! The Sisters of the Murk were just curious about the life of a land dweller," I replied. "You even know their names? Goodness gracious, this is worse than I thought. These are sirens, Laurits, sea shanty singing, saltwater drinking demon spawns. Very similar to the giant otters of my homeland, except for the singing part, of course." Before I could give my reply, one of the maidens spoke up in an annoyed tone. "Hey, that's not true. We're mermaids. The sirens live 3 miles to the west. Don't listen to their songs, Laurits. La 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 la, I can't hear you." With that, I was slowly but surely dragged outside by Kalervo, who held me firmly by my mail coif. With one swift motion I waved goodbye to the daughters of the Northern Sea, to which they waved back with great sorrow. I was sure that I was denied a beautiful friendship, although the saddened sigh of one of the mermaids left me quite confused. What a shame! I really thought we could steal a husband today.